Jungkook's mother sobbed behind the phone, her voice trembling, barely audible. "My son just came home. Why doesn't the world give him peace?" Amid the tears and trauma that shook John's family, one question hit all walls of silence. Did HYBE deliberately cover up the attack on Jungkook? And even more terrifying, did his mother really warn him before? What if the boy you've been protecting with your whole life almost lost everything right on the day he came home? What if the night that was supposed to be a moment of gratitude for the return of the sun turned into a tearful scream in the freezing silence of Seoul? And even more stifling, what if all that could have been prevented, but ignored? That was the question that thrilled Jungkook's mother. Not just as a mother, but as the only human being who knows very well how the wound behind her child's smile. Jungkook, a million-charm idol who has just completed his service to the country, narrowly falls victim to the obsessive actions of a foreign woman who impudently tries to break into his residence just hours after he returns from military service. But this is not just a story about invasion of privacy. It's not just about saying. It's about trauma, about ignored warnings, and about a mother whose heart is broken, feeling unheard even when she screams the loudest. Jungkook is not on stage. He was not singing or greeting the army with his warm laughter. That night, he just wanted to sleep in his own house for the first time in 2 years. But the simple desire turned into a nightmare. Surveillance cameras captured a woman trying to hack into the digital lock of Jungkook's apartment entrance at exactly 23:20 p.m., a time when Seoul was almost silent and when no one expected any danger. What makes a woman brave? Who gave him courage? Does he know that Jungkook is inside? Or isn't that just an act? To make matters worse, news broke that Jungkook's mother had sent a warning earlier. A discreet message, a request to increase security in the knowledge that his son will return home. But somehow, the voice disappeared between the walls of HYBE's huge, towering cold office. No additional security. No extra escort. Nobody listens. Now all that is heard are SOBs. A mother who could not contain her anger and fear when she knew that the life of the child she gave birth to was almost threatened in a house that she said was full of protection. "I don't want to see her crying in the media anymore. I just want her to live quietly," the mother said in a low whisper to someone from the close circle of the family. But the whisper turns into a roar when the facts come to light. The woman who tried to break into Jungkook's house was seen following his car 2 years ago. Is that a coincidence? Or is this part of a long-standing plan that has never been investigated? HYBE, so far, chose silence. There was no press conference.
No emotional statements.
No apologies to the family. Are they afraid of public repercussions? Or more concerned with the image than the artist's own safety? The mystery is not just what happened that night, but why there was no meaningful protection when Jungkook returned home. Even though he is one of the most valuable assets in the history of the Korean music industry. I hugged her after the incident, but her body was shaking. She didn't want to talk. He felt like he was back on the battlefield, said a personal staffer who declined to be named. Jungkook reportedly withdrew after the incident, refused to answer questions from the media, and even decided not to return to public activities immediately. Is this trauma? Is the sense of security that was lost in the military now also not found at home? Even more painful, news emerged from the family environment that Jungkook's mother had voiced concerns about the increasing threat from obsessive fans since 2 months ago. He even submitted an informal letter to the agency, asking for additional security for the child. But the letter was never officially responded to. Is it because she's just a mom? Is it because he is not part of a system that is considered important? When this news began to spread, the army was divided. Some strongly condemned the actions of the woman who tried to break into Jungkook's house. But most others began to highlight HYBE. Is this pure negligence? Or is there a systematic attempt to cover up the case in order to protect the company's image? The question began to roll wilder and wilder. Did the woman really act alone? How did he know Jungkook's exact location that night? Why didn't he look panicked when he tried to open the lock? And even more suffocating, why is the legal action against him so mild? Just 8 hours of education? Is this appropriate punishment for someone who threatens the public safety of a world-class figure? If the answer is yes, then the world is being very unfair. If the answer is no, then who prompted this decision? In this atmosphere of crisis, none of HYB's higher-ups appeared publicly. Not a single manager was seen accompanying the family. Meanwhile, Jungkook's mother was seen coming to the hospital, allegedly to undergo minor treatment because her blood pressure had dropped dramatically after hearing the news that her son was almost a victim. The question now is not just about how this happened. But why is a mother's voice the only truly sincere voice, simply ignored? Is popularity and comeback agenda more important than human child trauma? That night, Jungkook's apartment wasn't just a place to stay. It was a symbol of his first freedom after 2 years of military discipline. But all destroyed in a matter of minutes because of one person and one negligence. Now, the world demands answers. It's not enough to apologize. Not enough sweet words. What is needed is recognition that a mistake has been made, that John's family deserves a sense of security, and that the Korean entertainment industry must stop sacrificing the welfare of artists for money and image. Jungkook's mother cried not only because she was afraid of losing her child. She cried because she felt like she had failed, when the failure was not her, but the system that was supposed to ensure her child's safety. "I just want her to feel calm, not chased like an animal," he said softly in a voice message that began circulating in the fanbase community. The question now is, will the world listen this time? Or is the cry again swallowed up by the noise of an industry that never really cared? While the public continued to wait, Jungkook chose silence. But silence does not mean weakness. Silence can be the deepest form of protest from someone who is betrayed by a place that should be home. And it was in that silence that the world began to realize that even a star as bright as Jungkook is not immune from the darkness of a world that knows no boundaries. We do not yet know what will happen next. But one thing is for sure, this is not the end of the story. This was the beginning of a long fight. Not just for Jungkook, but to all artists, all families, and all mothers who just want their children to live in peace. Would you still be able to call the world fair if a mother had to cry because her child almost lost his life? In his own house, the night was too quiet for a celebration. No party lights. No sound from the house speaker. There was only the sound of a ticking clock and emptiness in the living room. Jungkook's mother has prepared her son's favorite seaweed soup, a meal usually served on birthdays or during important moments in John's family. But this time, the pot remained closed. The steam slowly dissipated along with the hope of the happiness of the night. Jungkook didn't pick up the phone. Something very unusual, because he always answers his mother's phone, especially on such an important night. A mother's instinct is never wrong. "I knew something was wrong," he told a relative. His hands clasped the phone tightly, his voice holding back sobs. He always answers, except when he's in danger. A few minutes later, the phone rang. But not from Jungkook. Not from HYBE. Not from anyone he expected, but rather from a neighbor who in a frantic voice said that the police were seen around the apartment complex. "Mom, I think something happened in Jungkook building," he said. And at that moment, everything changed. Jungkook's mother's world collapsed in a second. We often think that a big idol like Jungkook must have 24-hour security, professional safeguards, and the most advanced protection technology. But the reality of that night was astounding. The police who arrived at the scene were first asked to maintain confidentiality. They were told by someone from the agency not to directly contact the media or make an open report. The goal? To avoid public panic. But who cares about public peace when a child's life is almost taken away? Jungkook's mother did not receive any immediate news from the authorities. He learned of his son's situation through unofficial broadcasts, through conversations spread across the fanbase community, through pieces of CCTV footage leaked on Telegram. In the midst of the shock, he tried to call HYBE, but none of the emergency numbers he used to call responded. Some even died instantly. Are they working on a communication strategy? Or trying to sweep everything under the carpet? When the door of the house is finally opened by the private security team, Jungkook looks pale. He sat on the floor, hugging his knees. Surveillance cameras recorded him staring at the door for nearly 5 minutes like a child who had just gotten lost in a city he didn't know. This is not the Jungkook we are used to seeing on the screen, full of charm, energetic, confident. This is a devastated Jungkook who feels nowhere safe even after completing a tough task for the country. And what's even more heartbreaking, a new movement began to take shape, Idol Safe Now. A petition demanding equal safeguards for K-pop artists, including stronger legal protections against privacy violations. Within 48 hours, the petition was signed by more than 2 million people from 73 countries. As of this writing, Jungkook has not appeared in public. But everyone knows, his silence holds thousands of wounds. Is he going to talk back? Will he reveal his disappointment? Or, as usual, will he forgive, bow his head, and smile, just to keep everyone calm? The painful question remains hanging. Does a child have to keep silent so that the world is not shaken? In the midst of the silence, one figure continued to stand, not in the spotlight, not on any stage. But her voice, her cries, and her courage have rocked the entire K-pop world. He is not a manager, not a producer, not a CEO. It's just a mother. But he was the only one who shouted, when all chose to turn a deaf ear. The evening will probably be forgotten by other news in a few days. But for John's family, the night can never be erased. Because that night, a sense of security was snatched away. And that night, a mother's voice was ignored. Now there is only one big question that resonates in the hearts of everyone who loves Jungkook. If your mother had warned the world, but the world chose silence, who could you trust but your own mother? The morning after the incident, the atmosphere of the John family home turned into a funeral hall without a corpse. Jungkook's mother sat in an old chair by the window, with puffy eyes and hands clutching the phone that hadn't stopped ringing all night. But the call he was waiting for, from HYBE's management, from whoever was in charge, never came. Some relatives said the mother kept repeating one sentence, softly but heartbreakingly. Why did they leave him alone that night? Why? And between his sobs came a simple but very painful request. Please don't leave my son alone anymore. An internal source, who declined to be named, said Jungkook actually wanted to return home alone from the military base, a decision he said would make him feel more human after 2 years of being a state person. But what shocked the public was the allegation that the decision was suggested by HYBE's internal manager, who considered further safeguards not necessary at this time. If true, then this is a high-level risk management failure of one of the largest entertainment agencies in the world. How could someone like Jungkook, with years of obsessive sightseeing history, be left without tight security when just out of the military environment? This decision is just a misunderstanding or part of an image strategy. A few hours after the incident, a short video circulated on the Telegram Army community showing an unidentified female figure trying to open a combination of Jungkook's apartment doors. In the video, it is clear, he does not seem nervous, but very sure of the code he is pressing. This gave rise to a surprising theory. Does he have confidential information? Or have you had access to the apartment before? The fact that this footage was leaked before HYBE's official statement suggests one thing. There was someone around who knew, but chose silence. And even more painful, netizens questioned one question. Was an insider in Jungkook's neighborhood secretly a sightseeing spy? A leaked report said that after the incident, Jungkook did not return to his mother's house, but was taken to an undisclosed safe place. There, she received mentoring from a clinical psychologist who had previously worked with other traumatized K-pop artists. This opened a new wound in the hearts of his fans. Is Jungkook really mentally safe after years of being an obsessive target? How many fears has he been hiding behind his friendly smile on the screen? And most surprisingly, a staffer leaked that in the initial session, Jungkook cried silently and asked not to be talked about in any media. But now, everything is broken. It can no longer be covered. And an emotional moment. A close relative leaked that Jungkook's mother had a voice call with HYBE's senior representative the next morning. The content of the tape, which until now has not been made public, is called Shocking. In the recording, the mother cries and says, "I don't care anymore how many millions he makes for you guys. This is my son." And the most jerking? The response from the HYBE side is called very normative, even almost devoid of empathy.
No hay paleris.
No promises of change. Just a stiff sentence. We will investigate and issue an official statement in a timely manner. That sentence became the trigger for public outrage. What does right time mean when the life of their idol is almost taken away? The online movement started by Indonesian and Filipino fans is now expanding to America, Europe, and the Middle East. The hashtag HYBE apologized to Jungkook Mom has been trending for 36 consecutive hours. More than 3 million people signed a petition demanding a public apology from CEO HYBE and psychological compensation for John's family. Even some international human rights lawyers began discussing the issue in formal forums, calling it a form of institutional negligence that endangers the artist's right to life. Is this the beginning of the destruction of HYBE's reputation? The following week, for the first time, a large fanbase account known to be close to John's family uploaded a short quote, allegedly from Jungkook's own mother. "I can no longer trust people who say they will protect my son." This quote was shared over 10 million times in 48 hours. The world seemed to stop because the sentence is not just about HYBE, but about entertainment systems that often neglect humanity for the sake of profit. About a child who becomes a money machine. About a mother whose anxious cries are buried by a PR statement layered with formalities.